Hi everyone, we are here today for our second interview about working remotely. And today we have with us Season's founder and CEO, Daniel Weinmann. Daniel, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Always, man. Always. Maybe I'm gonna start by saying we're friends from when we were 13 years old. So it's for a long time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm sure it will be today as well.
I'm glad to hear it. um, so, Daniel, how are you coping with the situation right now? Because what we're seeing is something really extraordinary and out of the normality, right?
Yes, I'm nervous as hell. Right now, I'm not as much because my family and I just moved temporarily to the countryside to stay near nature in a big space. It's my mother-in-law's place. And just by not being locked inside an apartment with a toddler and my wife, I, and my daughter, I just immediately started feeling better. But when I think about the risks, when I think about what's actually happening in our country, in Brazil, and even though our government is apparently doing more than the government of the US, for example, it's still very little compared to China, for example, right? When I think about the potential consequences of having a less restrictive lockdown, I start to freak out.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of lost my words there.
Yeah, it's been happening.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a situation where we don't know what's going to happen, and I know that you have been studying it and trying to understand as best as you can, and to have other people as your employees is a greater responsibility, and also greater risk, if one can say so, because everyone is at risk right now, and different kinds of risk, like if not personal health problems, the global economic problem.
Yes.
And I'm seeing that we as a company are employing, are trying different strategies to take care of ourselves. I wanted to know what are you thinking about it, how you came up with those ideas, and what is getting you to try and do our best.
Yeah, just so the folks at home know, what we're doing as an already 100% remote company, which is a head start, right? So what we're doing is we're getting together virtually more often and just sharing our feelings. But we also started a daily gathering after work, like a happy hour. We've been calling it Corona Fest, which explain the reason for it, because it's not a gathering for us to discuss the problem, just for us to forget it for a while. So we've been getting together to discuss what we're feeling, and we also been I don't know, just talking about whatever we've been doing and whatever we're thinking without thinking about the situation. And I don't even feel I came up with those ideas. I just responded. For example, the first talk we had about it, I really wanted to have it. And we have a daily call, a weekly call. We call our vision call, where we talk about the vision for the company. And it was just obvious to Felipe, my co-founder, and I, that we needed to use it to discuss the coronavirus pandemic, because everybody is being affected by it. And then I wasn't even present at it, so I didn't come up with it, and I wasn't even there. But my heart was there. I wasn't present because I was feeling ill, actually, mostly because of the stress. And then the second time, I just had a conversation with a client in a regular weekly sprint call with a client, where we talked to the client about the potential impact on our productivity of our states of mind, right?
Right.
And after we had the discussion, LaRusso, our chief design officer, thanked me for that and said, we really shouldn't wait for another vision call to have a second talk with the company. So I also responded to that. So it's not coming up with things. And the Corona Fest came up during one of group conversations, right? So it's just being together. And that part is something that I feel a need for in these times.
Yeah, for sure. And to me, that relates to working remotely, because for us, it has been we are used to it, because Season is 3 years old, and it's remote since the beginning. And Felipe told us about it in our first interview. And I think as a leader, you probably is thinking about the company's future all the time. And when something as this happens, it's natural to respond to it and try to get people together and sharing, right?
Yes. Culture is something that's on Felipe's mind and my mind a lot. And I would say taking care of our own is more on my mind than culture. Like on my heart, at least. I wouldn't say on my mind, but it's on my heart all the time. And that when something like this, anything becomes less important, right? So I was just having a sales call yesterday, and both sides of the talk were 100% transparent to say that all time pressures were removed from the negotiation, because we both are open to whatever might happen. We have an incentive to close the deal earlier, right? To be more, I don't know, financially safe. But at the same time, this needs to be well thought, and the client is the potential client is taking a hit by this crisis. So they should only invest in developing software if it really makes sense on their strategy, even with the hit they're taking. And I think in this case, I think it will make sense. So we'll probably close the deal after all. But there's nothing more important right now than than responding to this emergency, right? So a deal doesn't matter, right? Even delivering software, which is what we do for a living, matter way less. What I'm thinking is that building software is helping us stay sane during this situation. So work is very important for other reasons as well. So we're all working because we need something meaningful to do while we're at home, taking all the precautions that need to be taken, right?
Right. And so how is our work done? What are the processes that are running for us to be successfully when working remotely?
I must say I'm not thinking about this at all. At all. This is something we've been thinking when we were not in a social emergency, right? So we already have the skills for working remotely, and we could talk about what skills are those, but I don't think this is the priority for people. You don't. If people that are being sent home to work from home don't have the time to develop the skills of working remotely, so they shouldn't be thinking about being productive, right? They should be thinking about being safe. They should be thinking about not spreading this pandemic. They should be thinking about work for the sake of work, for remaining sane, and thus having better health, right? And reducing the chances of getting infected. So it really is something unprecedented, and should be considered like that. I don't want to teach people how to work remotely right now. I want to say that people need to stay home and not get infected.
That's amazing to hear. What I was thinking is, how can we share something that can help people to stay mentally
yes,
with
that I love to do.
Yeah, mentally focus, or anything that could help people. And if work can do it, or if it's not work, if it is getting together online with other people, so that's things that we are doing. We're not just focusing on work, but we are focusing on sharing. And even a workout channel was created for us to share what the exercises we've been doing at home.
Yes.
So
yes, I think I can share what's been helpful to me so far, and maybe that will help other people.
Great.
I've been talking about how much I love to not being the technical guy and being a non-technical founder, being the CEO, the business. Everybody who's been watching the videos I create at some point came across with my story coming from non-technical founder to CTO and back again, right?
Right.
A weird thing happened after this situation started, that the thing that is helping me the most right now is to code. Because it's something, the only metaphor I can come up with is of a game, right? It's a challenge that has nothing to do with the situation we're living, that allows me to not think too much about the issue, and to get in the zone, like have a state of flow. And but if I had a deadline, I would be way way worse in terms of health, mental health. But I'm being productive as hell when I'm coding right now, and I'm creating something new, an internal technology for season, right? I'm using my time to do that just because I don't think it's the right time to make sales calls, right?
Right.
And even when I have the sales calls, they are not helping my mental state because everybody I interact with is anxious, right, about the situation. So coding became kind of a quiet time for me, like a game I'm playing, but I know I'm creating something of value with it. I'm not the gaming kind of guy, and it helps to know that what I'm creating will be useful once we get past this moment.
So you are doing something that keeps your mind focused and out of the problems, but also it is something that is meaningful and you are seeing results.
Yes.
Maybe that's some principles that could be applied to anything that people would want to do. Like,
I think you nailed it. I would just add, without external pressure or constraints.
Great.
Right? Because I'm all about pressure. you know that I'm all about delivering things fast and peak performance, right?
Right.
But the kind of peak performance I'm reaching at this moment needs to be different. Needs to be something that works more like rest than like work. That's less stress, more recuperation.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if people are thinking like that at all. I think most people are trying to keep the working routine as unchanged as possible, right? And I don't know. It's for me, it's impossible. It's literally impossible. If I wanted to do what I do the most, which is business partnerships, sales, marketing, etc., 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 I would not feel. Even if I felt good about it, I would not find the kind of response I usually get. Right.
Yeah.
At some point,
sure.
we're gonna have to do it. At some, if this crisis continues, we're gonna need clients, right?
Right.
If we lose some of our current clients because of the crisis, I'm gonna need to go hunt, let's say. But at this moment, I don't think it's the best environment to do that. And when the time comes, I'll definitely do it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like getting real, I think, and looking at the context and answering to that, and not to, I don't know, some ideal image in our minds that we would go home and keep as productive as we were.
Yes.
And a lot of us, a lot of people that are isolated can't even do their work.
Yes.
Being home, as you said. So maybe they could apply those principles to baking bread or doing push-ups or cleaning the house once a day with time and patience, not with the rush we
playing an instrument, singing, art in general, art that's not social, or at least that's not physically social. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
I want to take a segue because you mentioned getting real, right?
Yeah.
And it immediately connected some dots in my mind, because what I'm doing right now is a lot of work with the internal functionings of Ruby on Rails, which is a framework for developing software. And I don't know, there's something comes full circle when you mention getting real, because it's the title of the first book of the creator of Ruby on Rails, David Heinemeier Hansen, and Jason Fried, the founders of Basecamp. And they are also the guys who wrote the book on remote work, which is called Remote. Right?
Yeah.
And I've been following them for 15 years now. And it all started, to me, the working remotely, creating startups, everything that we do started with the release of Ruby on Rails. And we were lucky, my co-founder at the time was at the talk where DHH announced the release of Rails. So we were really early on that. And we ended up helping translating Getting Real to Portuguese.
Whoa.
And also, I mean, it really comes full circle. So I love to bring that to the audience, because it makes sense. Getting real is what we need to do, and it really requires us to really take a look at the situation where we've been living, and not try to pretend we're not living it, while at the same time understanding we do need to pay bills, we do need to do a lot of stuff. So if need be, we're gonna have to adjust to the new economics and strive for sustaining our families, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But the first thing we need to make sure we have to achieve that is mental health, right? So physical and mental health.
Daniel, that's amazing. You just took an idea of helping people to work remotely and got us in another another level, took us to another level. And it's amazing to hear your views on that, your perspective, because I do think it's this kind of mind that can really help us, because we don't know how long we're going to be living this way. Yes. And to keep a clear mind, to be connected with our hearts, and to be able to share meaningful things with each other, I do think that's what's going to save us all.
Yeah, I hope so, because in the end, we're blessed by technology, right?
Yeah.
I've been talking to my family every day, much more than I used to since this started, right? And I mean, even my father-in-law, he has a radio show. He's able to continue his radio show today. So he is high risk individual for coronavirus. And if he wasn't doing the work he loves, he wouldn't, his chances of not getting infected would be lower. Yeah, I just used the double negative there. His chances of getting infected would be higher if he wouldn't, if he wasn't doing meaningful work, the work he loved. So we're all blessed, all of us who are privileged to have internet access, have a home to work from, and all these things, we're blessed. It's not as big a change as it might seem.
Yeah.
We just need to embrace the fact that it is really hard to be socially isolated for humans.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing all of this with us. And I don't know, let's keep going and see what it all takes us, right?
Yes, let's do it, man. Thank you so much for this. It really feels good to discuss this thing with you and to share this with the audience. So thank you so much.